director here at Caldwell-Lake George Library, and I'm really happy that you all came out tonight. And I'd like to introduce our Lake Georgetown historian, Margaret Mannix.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I totally appreciate it. I don't have a whole written script that goes along with these slides. And I'm asking for audience participation, memories, or anything that you might want to add as we move along with the slideshow. So I'd like to thank Jack Abrams, who last spring was kind enough to sit down with me and share his memories of coming up Route 9. He went all the way. This show is just the west side of Route 9 from 149 to the high school. I didn't want to make it too long, and I can do a part 2. So thank you, Jack, and also Mayor Blaze. A lot of his memories and reminiscence and thoughts are in here as well. So let's take a walk or a ride up Route 9. So we'll start at 149, and years ago, the halfway house was there, and it was a very famous halfway stop between New York City and Montreal. Built by George Brown in the mid-1800s, and George Brown was a relation of mine. He was my grandmother's great-grandfather. And his son Clark eventually moved and ran Warden Hotel here in town. And Clark was my grandmother's grandfather. So this was interesting in French Mountain here. You can see, let's see, does this work? A little clicker thing? No, I guess not. Okay. But how Route 9, or maybe it wasn't Route 9 at that point, lead off into 2 directions. So it doesn't do that any longer, but...
Which is the one now, the bigger one?
I think this one here, well, I don't actually know. It was before the one-way. The curved one. This one here?
We're all making it up.
We're making it up. We're not sure. Well, this is long before the Northway came in. So, not sure. I need help. Help, anyone.
That's where the Northway is now.
Maybe.
You're making it up.
I'm making it up. Okay, so stop along the way. The Mohegan Motel. Everybody recognizes that famous sign. That's been there a long time. This earlier postcard is from the early 1960s. And I don't know if anybody here knew Fran or Lou Cuddleback. I didn't. And then George and Marilyn Stark owned it for many years. Over 40 years. Now it's under new management. So the gourmet restaurant burned in March of 1971. And it was a very popular place on Route 9 coming up. And I spoke with Rodney Rousseau, son of one of the Rousseau. His parents owned it, and he was younger than me. But he reminded me that there was a Ponderosa drive-in right next door to the Gourmet, which it was a car hop. Does anybody remember that? You guys remember it, all right. Right there now is where the Leo's Lobster and the building that's a children's daycare that's not really doing anything. The Gourmet was there. The Gourmet restaurant was there. And then after the Gourmet burned down, his parents moved. Well, they stayed there. They lived on that property. But they moved and ran Fan and Bill's restaurant. And his grandfather, Rodney, told me that his grandfather, Rousseau, started Massey's restaurant in the 1920s. So he's at the log jam now, Rodney. And he's been there for 30 years. I know, right? So I did jump over to the east side because the not the Ponderosa, the teepee trading post. And we can still see the teepee there. And it was originally Sam Frost and his wife and mother started the business. And when the Northway came through, they decided that Route 9 was going to be obsolete, and so they moved into the village. Now the Hermitage, I do not remember either, but that was on Route 9, and I'm told it stood just north of where the Gourmet is, but there's a pull-off now with a historic marker there, and the Hermitage was there. And the only pictures I could find were them raising it as the Northway came through. And this says, in 1961, this says the 31-year-old Hermitage Tavern is pictured here. And it was one of the most popular dining spots on the Lake George Road in its 31-year existence.
Did it burn down?
No, they tore it down for the Northway. Progress, progress.
Usually things burn up in Lake George.
There's a lot of fires, definitely. So Tall Pines is there. I added this one at the kind of towards the end of my getting it together, but I figured they're there, and I'll add them. I called and spoke with the Alan Chambers, who is running it now, and he told me that his grandmother owned 300 acres on the east side of Route 9, where Maltby's was, and going up French Mountain. Thought that was pretty interesting. And then I was looking on newspapers.com, which I really enjoy having as town historian, and her house burnt down, and that was over by Maltby's, I believe. So the Tall Pines, that is still there, and those are new pictures. Now, who knew there was a drive-in movie theater where Colonel Williams? No, Colonel Williams. Just north of the Tall Pines Motel, Colonel Williams, across from Maltby's. Yeah, it's flat and it's among the pines between Glens Falls and Lake George, and they had a live monkey cage.
What year was that?
I believe it's like 1952. Yeah, so that was something, and the reason I know about this, and I didn't know about this before this summer, there is somebody from Albany who's writing a book or a piece on drive-in theaters, and he wanted to talk about the Lake George drive-in theaters, and he told me that there was one here. I had no idea.
Didn't you move up where Old Water Slide Road is?
There's another one there. There was one there. There was another one by the...
They weren't the same.
No, I don't think so. They operated at the same time, I believe. And they also had drive-in church services on Sundays. A live monkey cage, right? That would be so much fun. Come just as you are, movies under the stars. What does that say? Smoking is permitted. Yep. Rain or shine, rain or clear, come as you are. Okay, now the Royal, this was something that Jack Abrams told me about. The Royal Pines, and this building this is now the Lake George Auto Marine, just across from Bloody Pond. And it had 3 different iterations as restaurants. The Royal Pines, the House of V, and then Pamphy's. Some of you must remember those.
I remember it.
It was a Chinese restaurant.
I did the bar, Keith.
Right. Jack tended bar at Pamphy's. And it operated from 1965 until 1974. Yeah, right. So the Royal Pines was 1935 to 1950, and then sold at auction for $12,500 in 1950. And then the Chinese restaurant was there for 13 years until 1965, and then Pamphy's until 1974.
Well, that's pretty impressive about the Chinese restaurant being there in those days for 13 years, right?
Yeah. I know.
But at the Royal Pines, Sammy Davis used to play there.
Sammy Davis used to play at the Royal Pines.
Didn't he play at the house too?
He played all around, I believe. And at the
Right in
Woodbine.
Montreal, yes.
On his way to Montreal, they had to take Route 9, definitely. All right, so I skipped across the road again. Kaiser's is now where Sushioshi, but it's not Sushioshi anymore. And that building has been a restaurant in many different forms and ways. Kaiser's. And when I was looking at different ads from Kaiser's, they were sponsoring all sorts of ski trips. So they were going to Whiteface and they were going to Killington, or they were meeting there. That was their meeting place at Kaiser's. So I think the Lake George Road was rocking and rolling in those years. All right, okay, so then now we're up on the hill. George Washington Motor Lodge. And what's the other one? Yep. King George, that's what it is. The 2 hotels that are still there. Modern air-conditioned resort. Winter skiing. Herb Tyre had that for a long time, and he was the auctioneer. Many different places. Yeah, so they're still there, and they're different names now, but both of those hotels are there still.
But they had the good views, right?
Yeah, they still do. Now this, the old trading post, I don't remember this either. This was where Goonie Golf is now, the same property. And it was, yeah, the old trading post, and then the Bones, they had a restaurant in Boston Spa, and they ran this trading post for, I think, till 1959. That also burned down. It did. I think all these wooden structures, and then the fires in the kitchen, or the laundry room, or the boiler room, or something.
Slow season.
Yeah, snow season, all in November. Right, it's on the Lake George Road, and the Luzerne Road was 9K at that point. Yep, 9K.
What's that stand for?
You want to take that?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Not mine.
She needs to take it. Okay. So the 4-cage cabins, remember when they were there? That was Pirates Cove Golf Course is there right now. So reading that, I don't know if you can read it, but it says originally all of the land along the west side of what is now Route 9, from 4-cage cabins at the Luzerne Road to Birch Avenue, was one farm owned by the late Udney West. It was referred to as the West Farm, It was originally 120 acres. The electric railway ran directly through the heart of the property. Old timers also recall that in 1911, Fort Gage Cabins was the first auto camp started at Lake George by Mrs. Bauer's parents, Mr. and Mrs. John Mooseberger. I don't know. But they stayed there for many years, and then the cabins sold off, didn't they? And some people have the cabins and their property now. Yeah. Okay, the Rainbow Lodge. Does that look familiar to anyone?
Mama Risso's.
Oh.
Mama Risso's. Right, it looks the same, almost. I mean, other than a few additions. And when I saw this in an old Adirondack Guide pamphlet, booklet, I'm like, where's the Rainbow Lodge? Where is that? And I figured it out, that that is where Mama Risso's is right now. Same building. Does anybody remember it? No, nobody remembers. 1951, 52. So then we'll go on to Howard Johnson's. Oh, how sad it's not there anymore. They had a good long run of it, and our Lake George Howard Johnson's was the last one standing. And now it's turning into something else. A suit, yeah, I know.
How you can eat sushi.
We'll see. We'll see how that works out. Looks like they're keeping the orange roof. Yeah. Yeah, that was a yearbook ad. Yeah, and we all remember the clam fries. Oh my gosh, Friday nights.
Oh, you can
Right? So fun. All you can eat.
Margie?
Yes.
There was a question on Jeopardy like 2 years ago. Where is the last remaining Howard Johnson?
Did they get it?
No.
No one knew the answer.
We did.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. All right. Okay, Hojo, so long. And now, this was originally, now Super 8 was originally the Northland Lodge, built by Finch Prine and Company, the new motel. These are older pictures. I also have to thank Mrs. Ruth Hawley, Chuck Hawley's wife. In 1978, she went up to the end by Goonie Golf and took pictures all the way down of all the places that were there. And I've used a lot of hers. And the Northland Lodge is her picture. And this is an old postcard. This was the original Northland Lodge. The DeSantis family had it. And Carl Sr., or no, what was Carl's father's name? Joe. Okay, he started this. And it's on the same property at the same time as Howard Johnson's. But I thought it was interesting that it was built by Finch Prine and Company. So it's now the Super 8, owned by the Cressito family. And then, we remember Dairy Queen, and that's now Joti Thai Restaurant. They're done? They're done, all right. So this is one of the pictures that Mrs. Hawley took. Slattery? The Slattery. Slattery.
Original. Yeah, every one had the original.
The Slattery family built it in the 70s.
They were like
7 kids.
Holly DeSantis, married one of them,
Oh.
yeah. Jim, no, Joe. Joe, I think, yeah.
I thought they just
But
had
didn't
the
the Horns
Horns
have part of
No, the Horns.
The Horns own it now.
The Slattery's ran it. They were a family that had connections in Bolton, and they had the Dairy Queen in Bolton also. And they had this Dairy Queen, and the father built these to help the kids.
The Slattery family had a Dairy Queen in Bolton, and he built this one in Lake George to help his kids because he had 7 kids.
7 or 9 or.
Lots of kids.
And they were from Ohio.
They were from Ohio.
And he sold this because the oldest son, Jim, wanted to go buy a Chick-fil-A.
Ah, he moved from Dairy Queen to Chick-fil-A. See, I knew there would be
The whole family ran it.
The whole family ran it.
Not the Slattery's.
The Slattery family. Okay, thank you, Alina. All right, so the Holly Tree Inn moving to north, and Tommy's Steak and Stein. Who remembers those?
So Holly Tree, George Hayward built the Holly Tree
George Hayward built the Holly Tree
and sold it to my mom.
and sold it to Mary Cressito,
How, 72?
1972.
Does she still have it?
She sold it in 2001 maybe, 2002.
Sold in the early
And then they bought the
2000s.
Northland.
Then they bought the
Wait,
Northland.
the Holly Tree is still there? It's still
Yeah, it's the
there?
legacy.
Yeah.
It's on the corner of Birch Avenue
Yeah.
and Route 9 across from the A&W, basically. These are old pictures.
Yeah, and then Tommy's Steakhouse was built, Ethel and Jim O'Rourke built that property. It used to be the Nomad Hotel.
Ah, the Nomad, but it used to be the Nomad
So
Motel.
she decided to build this Tommy's Steakhouse, her son's Tommy.
Is that across the street?
Yes, it was where the Waterkeepers building is. Right.
That's where it is now. So she built that, she built a house, and they had the little motel.
Little motel, and now it's owned by the Fort William Henry Company. Uh-huh.
Maybe 3 years.
So the Prospect Mountain Diner is still there. It was moved. The original diner was product of the Silk City Diner in Patterson, New Jersey. Philip Patnod bought the diner from the Jersey factory. It was originally located on the corners of 9 and 9L, where the water slide world is. And it was called the Point Diner. In the mid-60s, Route 9 grew, so it had to be moved because they wanted to widen Route 9. And 1967, Mr. Patnod relocated the diner and renamed it the Prospect Mountain Diner. And then in 68, he sold it to Art Leonard, and Mr. Leonard built the adjoining dining room, the Rickshaw. And the diner's still there. It burned, and then
That's a new diner. Right.
it's a new diner now.
Fancy that. Fancy that.
Yeah, right, another burn. Right. Yeah, there was a bar there too, the Lighthouse Cafe and Lounge. And the Lake George Bowl. Yep, Bob Blaze owned it for some time. He and a partner had it and then sold it. Now it's Lake George Lanes and Games.
Kenny's on that?
Yeah, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah, okay.
Kenny's. It owns everything else.
And then George's Golf. The world's smallest snowmobile, Little Skipper, for sale at George's Gulf. I know. I tried to get other pictures, but no one seemed to have any. And I looked and looked, but it's still the Exxon station, right? Is it Exxon? It was Valero. Is it? Yeah, it's just below the Lake George Bowl. Yep. So George owned it for many years. Gulf Station. George Schuster. Yep. Then the Holiday Inn opened in June of 1966. These are old pictures too. But it's grown, and that's also owned by the Cressida family now. Yep, the Beaters owned it first. And Vinny bought it from the Beaters, did he? Vinny? Hoffman's. All right.
Three owners. Three owners.
It was Peter, Hoffman, now.
Beaters first owned it, then Mike Hoffman, and now the Cressida family.
When I was in high school, was it Mrs. Peter?
Yeah.
Come off with dress up.
Mrs.
It was like,
She was fancy.
I used to work there
You worked
as
there
sales director for Mrs.
for Mrs. Beater.
And then also,
And, Columbus and Peter.
yeah, she was.
She had all time.
Still there. Okay, so Blake Beater Realty, which is now the little bike rental shop, bait shop, Beach Road Bait, and Oma Pizza. They're doing something there now. Looks like there's, is it?
That was originally Mrs. Peter's husband had real estate in that shop.
Yeah. It was originally a realty office.
Right?
Mr. Beater. And then Oma Pizza, they didn't stay too long. They stayed for a number of years. And that building hasn't, it's still there, but it's not really doing much. Something new is going in there now. They're working on it. Dean knows.
It's a French bakery.
A French bakery. Oh, that'll be nice. A French bakery, just what we need. It is. I'm telling you, it is. Good. Okay. Then Sky Harbor. Hello. Lake George's only upstairs and downstairs cocktail lounge. Right, we all went there. Now we're hoping that something else happens there, but it's still there, Sky Harbor.
It looks awful.
Well, that's Sky Harbor, yeah. That was a yearbook ad.
She's thinking of Sky Harbor on campus.
No, they named it Sky Harbor. The Krasnowskis. Yeah, it's across from the Round Bay. It's still there. It's called the Harbor Motel now. The Harbor Motel. No. It's still there. You'll notice it when you drive by again. I know. All right, so now this building has had a few iterations as well. This building is now Biscotti Brothers, but earlier it was the Montcalm, and it was also Westbrook Steakhouse. So these are photos from the 70s. So yeah, Art Leonard had Art Seafood. Art Leonard had the Westbrook Steakhouse as well. And the Beckus family had the Montcalm. And that was the Montcalm, well, the second Montcalm North. Right, and Dino had the Montcalm here for a while, the son, Dino Beckus. So that is still here, that building is there, and it's Biscotti Brothers. Yeah, John Carr's brew, what does he have? A distillery, right, in the front. Okay, so OTB was the lemon peel, right? Or that,
Oh, now it's
Saluti's, right, now it's Saluti's. The OTB was there first, I think. I'm kind of,
I think you're right.
I'm trying to be right. So the lemon peel, 1983, until John and Terry moved to the Woodbine.
I'm okay.
Computer. She's
She
okay.
doesn't need to follow.
No falling. I know. So that building, the OTB building was demolished, and now it's Saluti's. Okay. Then John's Piano Lounge. Who remembers this? I know, the bar that supposedly, this was John Palmer and his brother.
Where is this?
That is in that whole area right in there. And they had the Turkey House restaurant. Does anybody remember that? I don't.
What year was that?
John's Piano Lounge was the late 50s, I believe. Yep, Allen Mills.
Oh, yeah.
And the Turkey House was, from what the mayor told me, Mayor Blaze, he said the Turkey House was farther back on the property, and then they demolished it, and in there somewhere, I don't remember it, so.
Hey, is the regular this boat is now?
Say that?
You know where this boat is, or workers to go over that boat?
Yeah, no, we're not there, we haven't passed over Sewell Street yet, we're still on the south side of Sewell Street.
Not really liquor store.
No, the liquor store is next, I believe, here. Okay, so
Super Rat.
the liquor store Palmer's, and the Superette was, John Palmer built that and opened it in 1969. And that's now where the Adirondack Pub and Brewery is. That's the little bones of the pub and brewery, that old picture. And that's from 1978, the picture with Superette. That's one of Mrs. Hawley's photos, as is the liquor store. And the Palmers still own the liquor store. Georgianne runs that.
I remember this.
We used to have the Superette, we called it the Fort Deli.
The Fort Deli. And you said you had a gift shop in there, right, Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dutch gift shop. That was in there for a while as
And you
well.
had great meatballs, Jack.
Great meatballs. All right, so Thompson's SO coming north. Yeah, and that's a yearbook ad too, class of 1963.
Where was this?
That is where, right across from the fort entrance.
It's a boat.
The boat shop's there now. The boat parking lot.
Wow.
But in between that, is the Fort Deli and the boat shop, there's a house that was owned by Alice Sullivan.
Yep, and those two houses are still there.
It's still there.
They are, they're still there, and they look vacant.
Somebody's in one of them, I think.
I don't
The
know.
white one.
The old flower shop.
Yeah, there's a flower shop there.
The
Yeah.
brown one, nobody's living there.
No, they're empty. The houses look empty. Something. Alice Sullivan, was she the teacher?
She was a school teacher.
Okay, the school teacher.
It was Leo, her brother Leo Sullivan had the drugstore.
Okay, Leo Sullivan, her brother, had the drugstore. Miss Sullivan, I had her. Okay, so then, moving farther north, the Shell Shop. Art Jones opened this store in 1963 as a gift shop, across from the Fort William Henry. He had it for 5 years, and it was first a coffee shop and a gift shop before turning it into the Shell Shop. He was the creator of Goonie Golf, and he moved his whole location up to the Goonie Golf location in They just celebrated 50 years
Wow.
last year, so 51 this year. Goonie Golf. Yep, Art Jones.
What's that now?
That's the Boston.
Yeah, that's right near, that's where the boat, Quirks has the boat shop. And the gas station was, now it's a parking lot. Frank Cotton, Lake George mayor from 1950 to 59, operated Ingle Lodge, which is,
Right on the corner.
was where now Quality Inn is there. The Quality Inn. For a while, the cottages in the back, he tried to keep as little craft cottages for a while. And then, I believe it's the Jones family as well, purchased it and purchased the property, raised it, and now it's the Quality Inn.
Wouldn't Lake George look so much nicer if all these little places?
Wouldn't it? Well, time marches on. All right, so now Wade's.
Hot spot in the village.
Yeah, this is the Pancake House. Wade's was there first. Best in live entertainment. Yeah. So they had banquet rooms there as well, and weddings and parties. That building's still there. It's the Pancake House. It's blue. It's blue now. I know, right? Okay, and then we'll move across Mohegan Street to Jolly Roger, which is now the Lobster Pot, same building, and it was long ago the Fort View Inn, years and years ago, which I don't remember. But this building was moved from Shepherd Park. When Shepherd Park was expanded, and it was moved up here to the corner of Mohegan and Canada Street. Right? Getting it up that hill.
Do you know when that was?
I remember it.
Seventies.
We're saying it was the 70s when it was moved. Does anybody have an idea of the different age? Yeah, it was the 70s. It was like 74, I believe, that Shepherd.
Maybe Eileen Horn, her son owned that.
Well, Zachary's then.
Yeah, it was Zachary's after that, right? Before the Lobster Pot. So DJs and Pop Wows were previously the Stewart Arms, which was an inn, and now it's DJs, and these are also Mrs. Hawley's photos from her 1978 foray up the road. Danny Jordan's father had Papa Wow's, and now it's Gaslight. Yep, great grandson. But the buildings are still kind of the same. You can see the windows, kind of the same.
And then DJs had dancers, right? That was like
The go-go dancers. Yeah, they did. And DJs is still rocking and rolling. All right, now these I just kind of threw in the other day because it's the same part of the street. This is from 1928 coming up. Here's the Stewart Arms sign. You can see the electric trolley here. And that's going north. And then the Silvercrest fire is basically on the same corner of the street, and that was, 1939, and it burned down, and then Earl's Hardware. Well, Earl's Hardware was part of this building, electrician shop. And I believe after this burned, the corner was changed into the Earl's Hardware. Oh, okay, well, I should have put that one before, but, all right, so this was Dr. Lederer's office, and he took patients when walk-in, whatever. He was Romanian or some kind of Hungarian or something, but he was very likable and very accommodating to all the tourists and locals alike. McDonald's was there for a time. I know, changed. It was up high, and then they reconfigured the road or something. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, a fire. Whoa. Okay. So there were two McDonald's. One burned, and then they rebuilt, and now they're gone. We're probably the only town in the United States that lost McDonald's. Wait, we have someone?
Yeah, if you go back that slide before, that fire was November 20th.
Yeah.
If you look through the history books of the major fires in Lake George, they always seem to happen right after Labor Day before the 1st of July. And most of them, I believe, were caused by friction. That's when the mortgage gets rubbing against the insurance company.
That's why there's so many Italians here.
I know, right? Yeah, we have plenty of fires here. All right, so now the Earl's Corner here in so many different iterations. Jay, do you want to say anything? No, he said no.
Says it all.
I'm not saying anything. Nancy? Nothing? But now it's Gyro Hut or whatever. It was Dr. Morbid's for a while, right? Haunted House.
Movie world.
Yeah, it was a wax like movie world. So that's a mainstay corner in our village.
Never spilled up your stairs, Earl.
Right, no, it doesn't. But here in this one, the cop is directing traffic down in the pit. Maybe it was up the bill. So there's that corner. Another fire. Benedict Arnold's, but Cafe Gardens was there. This building was there for many, many years. Cafe Gardens, Bertie and Dave's. The mayor, Blaze, remembers a beautiful, I think, Art Sontag mural above the bar, like a logging mural. I was too young to be frequenting there. And then it was the Golden Nugget, or Golden 20s, and Benedict Arnold's. And that burned. I know. 1931. The Peppermint Room at Cafe Gardens. How many of you have been to the Peppermint Room at all? All right. Murray's Arcade is there.
Next door.
Yep.
The house, liquor store.
Yep, we're getting there. Herb Murray's Arcade, the Lake George Garage, Wallerstein's Liquor Store,
Slim's Diner.
Slim's Little Place, five stools.
Van Duzen and Chevy Garage is next to it.
Yep, Lake George Garage.
Ian's Gift Shop.
And, yep, and see these, I got these from you, Jack.
Is that the Van Duzen's bar?
Yep,
I know.
my little Margie.
If you go back a slide on the corner where the Cafe Gardens was, and then Jerry Caruso went in there and
called it Jerry's.
Yeah.
He moved from Julie's Delicatessen to the corner.
The best sandwiches.
Jerry's Delicatessen. I thought that was farther down, like where Lane's is.
Me too.
Just past, Rains.
Yeah, just past Lane's.
No, it's both
Yeah,
sides.
well,
Okay, hold on. We have a contention.
So when Jerry's went in, right, Jerry Crusoe went in, and went all the way in the back and around the back of the, deputy.
Oh, okay. So Jerry's Delicatessen was right next door and went, well, here, this one. Well, Julie's Delicatessen.
I think it was Julie's.
Jerry Caruso, right there.
We always loved Jerry's.
Yeah, and Vera's had a luncheonette.
Yeah.
Lang's Pharmacy, which then turned into Stylene's, which is now Riley's. And Taco Paloma.
Like an art.
So those buildings are still there.
And Foley's Butcher Block was right next door.
Foley's Butcher Block, we don't have a picture of that one.
And the Lake
Where was
Theater.
Mr.
Well, that's
Paris's
the
bakery?
Mr. Who's Bakery?
John Paris's father's little
Not the
bakery.
first one.
I don't know.
The first one was in
I don't know. Does anybody know where John Paris's father's bakery was?
Was it in the alley behind Common Core?
No, it was right on Cannon Street.
Don't know.
They started.
Write that down, I'll look for that.
that place up in the corner.
That was a steakhouse. It was steak, but Big T's Steakhouse or something, and now it's
Two gift shops.
Sandy Feet or something.
Are you sure that Paris's Bakery was on Main Street?
I don't think.
No, it was over
That
where the
back
house
in
was, over by the garrison.
Probably
I'm
early.
gonna look that up. Paris's Bakery.
Probably was going to open up Vincent's restaurant.
All right, so moving on. Okay, the Lake Theater operated as a movie house and theater from 1929 till 1976. Became a nightclub for several years. Efforts to revive the building to create an art center were never realized. And it originally was there in the 20s, and that also burned down. And the woman that owned it, Mrs. Carpenter, who had the Mayor Carpenter House, built a block building so it would be fireproof after that. So, here's the original Mayor, old postcard of the Mayor Hotel. Yep, and that burned in 1957, I believe. Yep. And then after it burned, Sam and Dot Frost bought the property and built the Tom Tom shop and the row of stores that went back. Instead of across the front, they decided to go back.
Marcy, the Delavan was before the Tom Tom, right?
No, the Delavan's north. North.
Yeah.
We're this is south of. So those of us who went to 4th and 5th grade in the Maynard Center, when the school was too small to accommodate us, they had satellite classrooms, and I went to 4th and 5th grade in the Maynard Center. Yeah.
Margie, I think that Charlie Maynard built the center.
Yeah, he did.
Frost just rented space from him.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Charlie Maynard built it.
He built it.
Mrs. Frost told me that Sam rented the first 3 stores.
Okay. Charlie Mayer built the center after the main hotel burned because that was his parents, I believe. He was the son. And then, as Todd is saying, the Frost rented the first couple of stores going back. First 3 stores. Okay, so this is the St. James block which I just learned was the name of the building that is there now, Caramel Corn. So you can see the electric trolley ran through here. This building was built in 1909, and it's still standing today, and it's had lots of different tenants over the years. And this says the Comida Lunch just opened in the St. James Block, Lake George. Everything new and clean. Best things to eat. Fred Varner, proprietor. And this, Patty Kirkpatrick has Nina's Sweet Shop now, and she sent me this picture. That was an early picture. And this one's early as well.
Yeah, because look at, she's got a long dress on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the men have suits on.
And there's trees. Trees. So here's some different iterations of that same building. And this one in the snow here, this says Muratory Shoes. I know. I learned it was right after the Mayer Center burned, because the big hotel is no longer there. And when I was reading about the Mayer Hotel fire, it said that the firemen did a good job by not catching the Muratory Shoe Store on fire, or the Lake Theater. So this building has gone through a lot of changes and colors, and it's still part of our Main Street today. And then La Casa.
I got fired from there.
Yeah, right. Well, the Joseph family had it for many years, and it was a wonderful Italian restaurant. And
Harry Cohen had the Lake.
yeah, Harry Cohen had the Lake George shop. You'll be sorry if you don't shop at the Lake George Sports Shop. Yeah, and now it's the Christmas tree shop and something else. Yeah, jewelry store, I think. Yep, but those buildings are still there.
It's still owned by the Benham family.
Is it?
Yeah.
Benham family still owns the building. Now here's the Delavan right next to that. The Delavan was first a rest stop for people traveling via stagecoach in the 1870s. Later it became a first tavern to open in the village after Prohibition was lifted. And it's had many proprietors over the years. It was a rooming house. And it burned in November of 1987.
The best part of John is the best part.
That's right, your grandpa. Right, Marty Luttrell was.
What was John's last name? Mary Neubauer. Neubauer.
Yeah, John Neubauer was there. And then next, 213 Canada Street, the house my grandmother was born in. Now it's the House of Frankenstein, and they've been there for 50 years this summer. I know, can you believe it? I can't believe it. It is, well, yeah, time marches on. So the Malcolm family had it for many years, and he had a plumbing and heating business. Dev Malcolm. He was also Sheriff's Mounted Patrol. And then moving on a little bit farther up, the Village Brasserie and Dell's Chicken House, which is now Capri Pizza. Coffee and was there for many years. Yeah, Phil Lang owned Coffee and. Yeah. So that's a winter shot up above.
Wasn't Zeke's garage on the
Yeah,
corner?
there's Zeke's Diner, and the Supernuts had it for a while, Lake George Diner.
3 gas stations in this little building.
I know, we have, yeah, even more, I think. And now it's the arcade, Leonelli's Arcade. And just behind that was Sorge's Restaurant on Montcalm Street. Joey Sorge had that. That also burned. And that's on the corner of the Iroquois Alley, and now it's part of the arcade property.
Oh, I have a photo of that whole party.
And who has a photo of the hobo party? Jan, we need to see that. Yeah, Wilcox's, and then it was La Roma, and then Gino and Tony's, and now it's Cafe Vero on that corner.
Rooming house, Wilcox.
Wilcox's had a rooming house on the back part of it, right, on the side?
Because I roomed there when I first came here.
Ah, Jan roomed there.
Didn't one of the original librarians lived over Wilcox? McPherson?
She lived across the street here.
Yeah.
And then she lived over by John Payne.
She didn't live over Wilcox?
I don't believe so.
I thought she did.
I know. We're remembering memories. Okay, moving north to Lucille's. Lucille's. I know, right? Lucille Patnard. She had it for many years. And no, it didn't. It's now Monte Cristo's on the corner. Not on the corner, but just up from Cafe Vero. J.C. Montana's, which is, that building is for sale. Anybody wants to run a restaurant? Oh, did it sell? Oh, it's sold. Someone said, okay. The Mushroom Tree.
Wasn't there a restaurant there called
Sidewalk Cafe.
Remember?
Yeah.
That was it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Loud, way loud.
We're remembering Sidewalk Cafe. Right?
Yeah, we old.
Oh, wait a minute. No, this says the Bookend Coffee Shop, and that was the Louds, I believe, in Poor Richard's bookstore. And the Bookend Coffee Shop, right across from Shepherd Park. And I believe, well, that burned too, I believe. I think so.
No, didn't they take that down to do the alley by your father's?
Yeah, right there, that street right there.
Thatcher Lane.
There was Fred Thatcher lived in that house.
Or no, did they
I
build?
think, no, it burned.
Oh, it burned and then they.
It did burn.
They took over the alley.
Yeah. Okay, now here's Parker's Spinning Wheel. And thanks to Marcia for supplying the pictures. There's your dad, Don Parker. And this building is for sale. Anybody wants it? The last Victorian on the village main drag across from Shepherd Park. Now there was a fortune teller and a t-shirt shop. I remember the baskets. There were baskets everywhere.
Dr. Henry's office.
Dr. Henry's office was in the back. I remember that, running away. Jumped out, ran home.
In the back.
Oh my gosh, I do remember that.
Was it? Yeah.
Then there's Janet Vito. She was right next door.
That store.
I know, everybody loved that store. And this, again, the electric trolley running through the village, and those two buildings are still standing on Main Street. Different iterations. Now it's the Lake George Olive Oil Company. Yeah. Can't find a phone booth anywhere anymore. Then the Lake George Hotel. It burned in a massive fire in October of 1978. Yep, I was there too. The first hotel on this site was the Central House in the early 1800s. That building burned in 1875. The Arlington and the Warden were two separate hotels, separated by a narrow alleyway. And in 1921, the owner gutted the ground floor of both hotels and combined them to make one large hotel. And now we have ice cream shop and the Irish shop.
What is that 1995 picture? George what? Is it George?
George's Townhouse.
Oh, right.
George's Townhouse. Yep.
That's right.
Was that the same George as George's Restaurant?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. We got a no on that answer. Okay. Then there's Bucky's and Glen Combs Golf on the corner right over here across the street. This is an early Thatcher photo. It's been a golf station for many years.
We'd ride in there and hit the big, oh, we get some.
The IGA Market is right next door.
What's that?
IGA Market's right next door. The building is across the street now.
The IGA Market. Oh, and the Woodmere building.
Yeah.
Yep. Lovestrop. Okay, well, we got the next picture is that building, which is where Wager's soda fountain was. And now that's right across the street from where we are right now. And that building is still there. It was the, what do I want to say, the VFW? No,
There's other parts.
Downstairs.
downstairs was the American Legion, wasn't it? Yeah.
Lady Barber was in there too, wasn't she?
And who?
The Lady Barber?
The Lady Barber. All right, we have memories. Lady Barber. Yeah, the building, it's right across the street. Yeah, there's apartments upstairs. 3 or 4. Hold on, Jan's remembering.
And just as an aside, Bucky Prosser's mother was George O'Keefe and Alfred Simon's housekeeper.
That's right. Bucky Prosser's mother, Margaret, was George O'Keefe and Alfred Stieglitz's housekeeper. All right. So Wager's was there for many years. Now I think that moves to the grill. Yeah. And then then there was Hayward's restaurant. Who remembers that? And this was the Idle Hour, owned by Edward Warden. And it's the same building.
What is that now?
It's not there. It's Giuseppe's and the Marriott. But Trattoria, no, what is it? The Sicilian Spaghetti House started as a little white house, and then it expanded and had flowers and vines, and it got very. And she sold to the Marriott. So then Barleycorns, everyone remembers Barleycorns. And earlier, in the 60s, it was the Marine Room, which was rocking and rolling, apparently. You remember that, right, Mona?
Oh, the village hairstylist, Joe and,
Richard and Joe were the village hairstylists. Next to Barleycorns.
Stony Creek Band.
And the Stony Creek Band. They celebrated 50 years this summer. And then we have, this is an old postcard. Sisson Court was right across the street, one of the earliest cabin colonies in the village. And a lot of that burned, but the one building up front, I don't think it's on here. Oh, it's right here. It was Millington's Law Office here for many years. No, it was for a while when they built the Marriott, and then he took it down and yeah. Oh, we're going the wrong way. Sisson Court. And then last but not least, on my tour of the west side of Route 9 is the high school, built in the 20s. And this photo is from 1957, an aerial shot. And you can see Parrott's Barn up there up on the hill. And just a few, the upper field. Yep, and the Joseph's house here. It doesn't even look like the bus garage is there. My third grade classroom. We didn't have buses. Yeah, so that's my show for tonight, folks. Thanks for your participation and your patience and your memories. I appreciate it. Yeah, so we'll go on part 2, or we'll do the east side another day. So thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you.